Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. We are playing NeoBrand or Allosaurus Evolution, whatever you want to call it. This is our opening hand, which is no good. We do need lands, unfortunately. Otherwise, this hand is almost like a turn 1 combo. I guess if we did have a land, we could have summoners pacted up a Allosaurus, then exiled Nourishing Shoal and Evolution into Neo form, so it's actually not far off, but unfortunately we do need a land, so this is going to be shipped back. This also doesn't have any lands. We can play 2 Allosauruses and hope for the best, but they're just 1/1s without any lands, so that's problematic. Yeah, again, irritating because we are kind of almost there. So this is our opening hand of 5 cards. It's pretty bad. We don't have really any parts of our combo, but we do have cards that draw, well, ways to draw cards. So I suppose we can hope to dig into what we need. Breeding Pool on top. I imagine we'll probably keep it on top just because we want the second land. Opponent leads off with a Thoughtseize, which takes the Serum Visions. So yeah, that's going to punch us a whole lot further for keep going down to 5. And I guess given that we were on the draw, we could have kept that crazy starting hand, but just hope to draw a land, but wasn't to be, and this is where we're at. So cycle Descenter's Deliverance, which draws into another land. We found Neo form, so that's 1/2 of our combo, which is good. One's got a Scavenging Ooze, so not too scared by that. It doesn't really do anything to us because our combo is not graveyard based. We get hit for 2. Opponent passes the turn, doesn't have a land either, so that's kind of interesting. And fairly good news for us. We draw a land, which is not much use for us. Attacks. Cast Metamorphose here and see if we can draw into them anything. So we managed to find Allosaurus Rider. Unfortunately, because our hand has been depleted, we can't play it just now. Otherwise, we would have been able to combo off here and now. We find Chancellor of the Tangle. So yeah, actually going back to that play, I played Metamorphose end of turn. There's never really any good reason to play Metamorphose end of turn, so I probably should have just not done it, because then we would have an extra green card for this Allosaurus Rider. Granted, we would have drawn it a turn later. So yeah, I think that was just a wrong thing to do. I was just trying to sort of cantrip, but you might as well play Metamorphose on your own turn if you're going to do it, given that it generates mana anyway, so you're never really disadvantaged. And as I say, it can be relevant having that extra green card in hand when you find the Allosaurus Rider. So there's another Scavenging Ooze, so they're not really doing anything particularly speedy, but we're sort of having to hope that we draw a green card, which may or may not happen. And we don't have much control in that, so Serum Visions might be able to get us there. It draws us a Pact of Negation. We see 2 green cards on top, so we're going to keep Summoner's Pact most probably. But we are going to take 6 next turn, which means that even if we do get Grizzlebrand down, things aren't going to look great for us. But this happens to have Liliana, which is pretty much the worst thing that could happen for us. I guess we could have Pact of Negationed it, but then we would have died next turn anyway. So yeah, I guess we're kind of stuck now. We're going to go down to 4. We might be able to, well, we will be able to Allosaurus Rider and then Neo form it, but our opponent's going to be able to Liliana Edict us, and then we just lose. And we won't be able to draw any cards because we only have 4 life left. So yeah, unfortunately, the Mull to 5 was a bit of a killer. We did get more time than I imagined we would from our opponent, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough time to pick up the win. Maybe if we hadn't played that Metamorphose, we would have been able to get their returner sooner, and maybe that would have been allowed us to pick up the win. But yeah, unfortunately, we're packing this one up. Okay, so here we are with the deck. I've kind of been tweaking the deck as I go along. So this actually isn't the list that I was playing in the matchup. It's pretty close, to be honest. I haven't changed too much. I was originally running Dissenter's Deliverance, which was a sort of canister tech in the main deck, which is a way of dealing with hate, I guess, particularly artifact hate that can stop the combo like Grafdigger's Cage. But it didn't seem necessary in the main, so I have cut that down, and I think there are a few other bits and pieces that I had to sort of tweak and change. But this is kind of the main body of the deck. This is what I'm working with now, having made a few changes. So yeah, against the Rock, which is what we're playing against, or green-black, I guess, in more simple terms. The cards we want to look at bringing in, I think we want Leyline of Sanctity. The thing we're most concerned about from them really is their hand disruption. We really don't want to see too much hand disruption because we need those additional cards in hand to cast Allosaurus Rider, and obviously we want to protect our combo pieces as well. So I think that's the main thing we want to bring in. Pact of Negation doesn't seem like a card we particularly want. Echoing Truth, Chalice, Reclamation Sage. We could bring in some Artifact Hate just in case they do have Grafdigger's Cage in their sideboard. But I think Leyline is probably the main card we want to be looking at. Here, in terms of cards to bring out, I'm always happy to bring out Cantor. I'm not sure it does a great deal other than sort of mild filtering. And given we've got 4 Metamorphose, we kind of have other options for that. So I'm always happy enough to take that one out. Noxious Revival, again, this is kind of a card that prevents you from fizzling by being able to bar you back your Nourishing Shoals for the most part. It can buy you back other cards as well, like maybe even Lightning Storm, in case that gets sort of milled out your deck or forced into your graveyard for some reason. So you can find your kill spell again. So yeah, it does have uses, but I don't think it's like strictly necessary for the combo and the deck in general. So that's another kind of looking to cut potentially, and then, as I say, it's kind of the other optionals. We can cut a Metamorphose here or a Sleight of Hand there. We don't need all of those cards in our main deck necessarily, and I generally don't cut most of these cards. Chancellor actually is another one you can potentially cut. I don't like cutting too many, but I think it's because it's sort of fodder for your Nourishing Shoal, but I don't think we necessarily need Chancellor to go off. Obviously, it just leads to the more sort of flashy combo kills. So those are the cards you're kind of looking to tweak and change. Definitely don't want to be taking out Simian Spirit Guides, Grizzlebrands, or any of your Allosaurus Riders, Eldritch Evolutions, Neoforms, Summoners Pact, or Nourishing Shoals. They're all sort of fairly necessary to the combo. So I don't like to mess with those numbers too much, but these cards are largely fair game. So yeah, as I say, bringing Leyline of Sanctities and taking out some number of these. Okay, so this is our opener for game 2. I don't really like this. It's got a couple of draw spells. It's got way too many lands. It doesn't have either half of our combo. So I think this is a mulligan. This is better. Obviously, ideally, we wouldn't have these Simian Spirit Guides in our hand. But we've got the Leyline to protect us from discard, and then we've got the combo in Eldritch Evolution plus Allosaurus Rider. So basically, we just need to draw lands, and we should be able to get there. So I'm happy to keep this. See, wished we had London Mulligan, because then we would have been able to put back one of these Simian Spirit Guides and have a land instead. So yeah, it's been a big hindrance. Losing the London Mulligan has hurt this deck quite a lot. and certainly my experience is that it was a lot better beforehand. So we do get our second land. We've got Serum Visions. This is kind of an interesting spot in that these cards are potentially good, but actually we really just want to find another land for the most part. Well, actually, we need another green spell, sorry, yeah, so it's more interesting than that. I mean, we need our third land, but we also, well, not necessarily need, I guess, in the terms that we can use Simian Spirit Guide, but if you use a Simian Spirit Guide, you can fluff up your combo in that if you don't get deep enough into your deck, you don't generate enough mana to Lightning Storm. So that's a potential problem, because you definitely need the Simian Spirit Guides if you're going to be tapped out and not have a land to play. So we need a green spell, but we also need to hit a land drop. So I think I end up bottoming both of these on the assumption that we'll get a land and we're fairly likely to draw a green spell because there's a lot in our deck. But could have gone either way. Could have taken the Manamorphose, could have taken the Summoner's Pact, just in case our opponent is able to deal with our Leyline and forces us to discard. But I'm just digging for lands here. But I can certainly see the line where you just rely on this Simian Spirit Guide for the extra mana. I suppose my line is a little bit riskier. So opponent does have a way of dealing with the Leyline in the Assassin's Trophy, which obviously was always likely, but I didn't know whether they would actually achieve it. And then they've got Inquisition, which is going to take Eldritch Evolution. So, I mean, I suppose interestingly, of the cards that we saw, neither of them are actually going to be able to replace Eldritch Evolution. So we draw Grizzlebrand, which is pretty much the worst card that we could possibly draw. We could cast Manamorphose to draw deeper, but then we're down a green spell, so I don't really like that. Opponent doesn't have any pressure to follow up with, which is nice. We draw Neoform, which is very good, so now we just need one green spell and we can get this combo on the road. Also, there is a risk that we draw the second Grizzlebrand and then things go very badly for us. But that doesn't happen very often. It hasn't happened to me yet, thankfully. So opponent Field of Runes us. In this current build, at this time, we only had one basic, so that worked pretty well. But fortunately, we have got Neoform, so provided we don't have that happen to us again, we're in good enough shape. Opponent plays Liliana. I'm going to discard Grizzlebrand here. That is a risk in a world where surgical extraction exists, but I think it'd be strange for them to be surgicling us. But you never know. So, so I suppose this was a risk. I could have pitched a Simian Spirit Guide instead, but I thought this was fine. So we finally draw our second green spell to go with our Allosaurus Rider, so we're going to exile those. Going to get to Allosaurus Rider Neoform into an 8/8 Grizzlebrand. We have to go off here because unfortunately our opponent has got Liliana, which is a pain because they can edict the Grizzlebrand. We draw fairly nicely here, although we do need to find a Nourishing Shoal. Find our third Simian Spirit Guide, so we've got the mana for a Lightning Storm. But we do need to hit a shoal here. Fortunately we find one, and we can now Summoner's Pact for the... I have no idea how you say this, and I often spell it wrong. Autochthon Worm, is that how you pronounce it? No idea, let me know. But anyway, yeah, this is the 15 mana green worm creature, which works very nicely with Nourishing Shoal because gaining 15 is 2 Grizzlebrand activations, and we can also find it with the Summoner's Pact, so that's pretty tasty. So we're going to go up to 20 here. Going to draw 7 and draw again, just because we can. We actually do need quite a lot of lands to like this deck only runs 16 lands, I think, and some lists run 15. So you do need quite a lot of lands to Lightning Storm off with. So just because you can cast Lightning Storm, you definitely need to count up the number of lands in your hand to make sure that you're actually going to kill your opponent. So we can Nourishing Shoal here again if we want to. Go up to 21, and we can basically draw our deck here. Well, we could actually draw our whole deck here if we so wished, and if we had the Lab Maniac, we could actually win the game with that. I prefer the Lightning Storm kill to the Lab Maniac kill, just because I think it's less consistent, or in my experience, it's less consistent for you to actually draw your whole deck. And there's a lot more risks involved in that, whereas Lightning Storm, I think, is a bit of an easier kill to achieve. I could be wrong about that, but I think I'm right. I think that's generally the way people have gone with the deck. So here we get to Lightning Storm, and yeah, our opponent just concedes, but as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... So 9 lands, so 9 lands is 18 damage. And then we've got the extra 3 with the Lightning Storm. I might have another land there in there somewhere maybe. So yeah, that's enough damage, and our opponent concedes anyway. So we have picked up the win. Okay, so here we are with game 2. Game 3, sorry, the decider. So this is our opening hand. We've got double Ley Line of Sanctity, which obviously is a nice way to protect us from hand disruption. Unfortunately, there's nothing else going on with this hand. The Worm doesn't really do anything, and neither does Simian Spirit Guide on its own. So really, we're kind of relying a bit too heavily on double protection if we keep this hand. And we could just get beaten down by Tarmogoyfs, etc. So I'm not happy to keep this. I want to mulligan this away. So it seems a shame, but I think that's the right thing to do. This hand's a bit better. We have got our combo already in hand, so that's very nice. And we've also got a Nourishing Shoal, which is very good for when we start going off. It's always nice to have one in hand, so you know that you're going to gain some life. And then we've got the Spirit Guide as well, so we might be able to combo off a turn earlier. Scry, he finds us a Sim Visions. So that's pretty nice. Unfortunately, we are on the draw here, so we're not going to be able to go too crazy. I mean, in theory, we could have actually turn 1 killed our opponent, because we Allosaurus Rider, Exile, Shoal, Chancellor. We'll have made 1 mana off the Chancellor, and then we can Eldritch Evolution with the help of Simian Spirit Guide to get the Grizzlebrand. Whether that would have been a good idea or not, I'm not so sure. I mean, I guess it was probably worth a try. I don't think I would have gone for the all-in combo kill on turn 1. But I think that would be very difficult for them to beat. Unfortunately, we are on the draw, and our opponent has Thoughtseize, and then they take Simian Spirit Guide, which is quite interesting, because that doesn't stop our combo. Turns out the reason they do that is because they are going to Surgical Extraction Simian Spirit Guide, which is kind of an interesting play in and of itself. Kind of clever, actually, because Simian Spirit Guide kind of provides the mana for our combo kill. So, quite interesting. And yeah, I suppose, well, they could have picked anything, so I'm not sure why they didn't choose Allosaurus Rider. I think Allosaurus Rider would have actually been the better play, because we absolutely need that to combo kill. And there's nothing I can do about it once they've got rid of it. Also funny that they didn't do it before I drew a card. I mean, I suppose then, I suppose, yeah, if they playing it on as I draw the card means there's more likelihood that I get a Simian Spirit Guide into hand. I guess that makes sense. So, Serum Visions draws us a Dissenter's Deliverance. We see Ley Line and a land. I think we just want the land in this situation. And then I'm going to cycle with the extra mana from Chancellor of the Tangle to get that land straight away. Since our opponent doesn't actually have a second land drop, so they kind of committed fairly heavily into the Thoughtseize Surgical Extraction game plan. Which, yeah, I think they punted pretty badly by not taking Allosaurus Rider here, because we can actually just kill them. I think I was a little confused and bemused at this time, because we actually could have comboed there, and I didn't for some reason. Put in place Tarmogoyf, finds our second land. So we're going to Eldritch Evolution a turn later than we could have done. I'm just going to pass because there's a reasonable chance that our opponent just can't kill Griselbrand, in which case we can just attack with it in the normal way. Also, we don't really have the combo kill, as our opponent's got rid of our Simian Spirit Guide. So your opponent has the Assassin's Trophy to answer Griselbrand, so that puts us in a bit of a bind, but basically what we're going to do here is draw some cards, unsurprisingly. So that finds us Lightning Storm and Chancellor of the Tangle and Eldritch Evolution. So here, actually, we still can combo kill without Simian Spirit Guide. And the fact that we've drawn Lightning Storm kind of opens up that opportunity. So basically, what we need to find is a way to generate red mana, probably Manamorphose for the most part, and then potentially we can kill our opponent with a Lightning Storm to the Dome, because we're not going to have to discard down to hand size because this is our opponent's turn. So we draw 7 more. It's not the greatest of options here. So I'm going to Nourishing Shoal the Chancellor of the Tangle, just to gain 7 more life and get to go again with the draw. We could have Summoner's Pacted here to get the Worm, and then combo killed on our opponent our upkeep, which I guess is probably the better strategy, but it seems a bit risky. We do have the Manamorphose here now as well, so yeah, I suppose that's probably what we should have done in hindsight, and then comboed off in response to the Pact activation. Is it on upkeep? You get to untap first, right? Of course you do, yeah. So yeah, I suppose that would have been the better play, because we would have gained all the life and we'd had a lot less risk involved. But can draw 7 cards again, see where we get to. I mean, if the combo kill hadn't come up, I think we would still be doing this anyway, to try and find some playables. Like, we can just play Allosaurus Rider as a decent card. It'll be like a 5/5, and we can keep some more lands back. So I think that's a reasonable thing to do in the scenario. So our hand's not perfect, but actually for the combo kill we've drawn a lot of lands, so this works out pretty nicely, as it turns out. We're going to get our island out of our deck with the Assassin's Trophy. Opponent attacks for 4, puts us down to 2. And here, I mean, we're going to play the Gemstone Mine, we actually don't need to because we just Manamorphose. So we probably shouldn't have done that because it just gives us more lands to play. But our opponent's down to 13 anyway, because they've used up some life on Thoughtseize, Surgical Extraction and Cracking Fetch. So the kill's actually a little bit easier than it otherwise would have been. And we managed to pick up the win. So yeah, kind of interesting one. Put us in a fairly tricky spot there, but we managed to find the win from without the Simian Spirit Guide, because we're able to untap there and use the mana. Alternatively, as I say, we could have started dropping Allosaurus Riders, I guess, but that worked out pretty nicely, and yeah, took a lot of brain power, but we did manage to find a win from surgicaling our Simian Spirit Guide. I think in hindsight, as I say, the opponent should have just taken the Allosaurus Rider, and then we would have been in a lot of trouble. We couldn't really do anything about that. So, bit of a punt from our opponent, I guess, fortunately, but did end up in our favour, and we did manage to just about pick up the win.